Hey guys, what's up? Welcome to Unity3D Tutorials, and this is RZtuts2, 1 of 5. So this is the first video of 5 videos that's going to be going over how to teach you how to create the most badass bullets inside of Unity3D. And these bullets should pretty much be able to work inside of any type of game, but are probably going to work best inside of a first-person shooter. But that shouldn't limit you to only first-person shooters. You can also do third-person shooters, of course, and I don't know, 2D platformers or just whatever kind of game that you think that you might need bullets in. Some of the features that these bullets are going to have is that they will have gravity or like bullet drop. So that means if you're shooting something really far away, the bullet's going to drop just a little bit because bullets actually do have gravity in real life and actually drop over time. They don't just move in a perfect straight line. They are affected by gravity. And then we are also going to learn how to make these bullets be able to damage either the enemy AI or the player. And by that, I mean really what we're going to do is we're just going to make it so that you can choose a variable inside of your enemy AI script that is the enemy's health and make it go down, and same for the player, just make it go down, and we'll have a variable inside of the bullet itself to actually make, or to how much damage we want to add to either the player or the enemy, and whether or not that bullet will damage the enemy or the player. What else are we going to be adding inside of these bullets? Oh, we're going to be adding, we're going to make these bullets have actual force behind them. So if you have any rigid bodies in your game, such as enemy ragdolls or just like crates or barrels or other random objects within the game that are going to have some weight behind them, you can actually make it so the bullets are going to add some weight to those and actually hit into objects and add force to them and actually be able to knock them back in the world, and you'll be able to play around with physics that way, and that'll be really cool. We are also, one of the biggest things that we're going to be learning inside of this tutorial playlist is we're going to learn how to create a bullet array. So what that means is this is really a performance optimization issue, and this is going to be the last tutorial out of these 5 tutorials, so that if performance optimization isn't something you're very interested in, you can go ahead and skip this step and your bullets are still going to be totally badass and have all of these cool features. But if it's slowing down your game and you want just a perfect frame rate, say like you have a multiplayer game and you don't want the frame rate to drop when you're shooting bullets, this bullet array is going to be perfect for you. The way that this is going to work is that we're only going to create bullets. We're never actually going to destroy them. We're only going to, so after the bullets is, well, done for, like after it hits a wall or an enemy and we no longer want the bullet there, we're going to have the bullet go into like an idle sort of mode where it's not really doing anything, and then we're going to send it off like way a million miles away to the other side of the scene where it will never affect the player and is just really far away. And then from there, we can resurrect these bullets and bring them back into the game. So that way, we're not actually creating new game objects every time that we need more bullets. The first few bullets, we will be creating new game objects. And that shouldn't be too much of a problem because we won't have tons of bullets already inside of the system's memory. We can first create a few bullets that we need. And then as we need more bullets, we might create more bullets. But if we have no other bullets in the scene, we're just going to resurrect some bullets that we already had sitting in there. So basically the main thing that this is going to do is that it's going to affect performance optimization, and mainly there will be no frame rate drop when you shoot a bullet. So this is very important in multiplayer games or just any games in general that you want to have a nice polish to, because otherwise if you have a gun that's shooting lots of bullets very quickly, you can see a frame rate drop right when you shoot a new burst of bullets. So why not just use bullets that are already there so that Unity doesn't have to go through the process of creating a new game object every time that we have tons of bullets in the scene. So yeah, performance optimization. So yeah, we're going to learn how to do that. And this episode in particular, we're going to be going over how to create the model that we're going to be using for the bullet, which is going to be kind of 2 meshes that we're going to combine into a single mesh, and then we're going to do a little bit of UV mapping. It's going to be super simple because it's a bullet and it doesn't have to be perfect, but we're going to learn how to make the bullets really cool so that no matter what angle you're looking at the bullet from, you will have an interior color and an exterior color, and it'll really give the bullet some dimension. And no matter what angle you're looking at the bullet, so whether you are seeing somebody else shoot a bullet or you are shooting a bullet, the bullet is still going to be three-dimensional, yet still have that kind of dual layer effect, and you'll see more what I mean inside of the screen recording. And then I'm going to be quickly going over adding lights to your bullet. Now this is totally optional because that can quickly slow your game down, but on the flip side, it does look really awesome and can really add some depth and really bring out your bump maps and really make your bump maps look even more 3D. So, yeah, that's what we're going to be going over in this particular episode. So why don't we cut to the screen recording and actually learn how to do that inside of Unity and Wings3D. All right, here we are inside of a program called Wings3D. So this is not Unity, obviously. This is a different program, and this program is free, and it's for PC and Mac. So in this particular episode, I'm not going to be going over exactly how to use Wings3D. I know there's already tutorials out there on YouTube showing how to use Wings3D. It's a very easy, simple program to get into. And you can you can take this concept and put it into any 3D modeling program, such as Blender or 3ds Max or any modeling software. But I chose Wings3D because visually it's very easy to understand, and whenever you right click on stuff, you can see what I'm doing, and you have all these nice, easy to understand symbols up here. So it's just a good demonstration / learning program when it comes to 3D modeling. So that's why I chose this. And I'm going to open up a few windows. First of all, I need the outliner, and the outliner shows us things such as materials and stuff like that. And another window I need is the geometry graph, and the geometry graph will give us a list of all of the meshes that are currently in our not scene but our model area. I don't know, maybe you call it a scene. But if this were Unity, this would be the scene view, and this would be the hierarchy. And I guess this would kind of be the project window, maybe. But yes, so as you can see, we have a Z, Y, and X axis, and we're going to make a bullet that points forward along the Z axis. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to create an octahedron. Yep, that's the shape I wanted to make. And let me just read that word one more time. Octahedron. Octahedron, whatever. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do to modify this shape is I'm going to select all of these edges and kind of make a ring around the shape. So I'm going to slowly pan around so you can see which edges I have selected. And now I'm going to right click, I'm going to go to cut and then 2. And now I have a vertice in the midpoint of all of those lines. And then I'm going to select this tip and this tip back here. So now you can kind of see the 3D vertices that I have selected. And then I'm going to hit C, which stands for connect. So now we have all of those lines connected. So now I'm going to select just these 4 midpoint vertices, and let me get a good, actually, you know what I can do is I can go into orthographic view, and now I'll be able to see this even better. But now I'm going to go to scale uniform, and now you can see how I can scale it. And in this case, I want to make like a circle, and that's, well, not a circle, but an octagon. So that looks pretty good to me. So now this is the shape that we have, and now I'm going to grab this point back here, and I'm going to move it along the Z axis, and I'm going to stretch it really far that way. And now I'm going to grab this one, I'm going to stretch or move it along the Z axis just a little bit that way. So let's see. I'm going to select the whole thing, and I'm going to scale it down. And then I'm going to move it so that it's back into the center. There we go. And now I'm going to let's see. I want to edit it just a little bit more. So actually what I'm going to do is I'm going to select that, and then I think if I go to select similar, and then click on that, and then select similar. Okay, good enough. I mean, I could have done that manually, but now I have all of those lines selected, and now I'm going to cut those into two. So now I have a midpoint once again, and I'm going to press C to connect those. And now I'm going to scale those up just a little. And now I'm going to grab this this point way back here, and I'm going to drag it back even farther. So yeah, that looks pretty good. And then let's see if I could do that. Yep, I got all of those points selected. So I'm actually going to scale those down a little bit so it looks like our bullet has more volume to it. And I'm going to move it along the z-axis. Like, that looks pretty good. It looks like we have a bullet and it has, like, that bullet has volume. And yeah, I'd say that is pretty much the shape of the bullet that we want. So now actually what I am going to do is I'm going to go to object select. Actually, I don't know if that's object select or entire mesh select. I'm going to select it. I'm going to go to right click, and then I'm going to go to duplicates, and then it doesn't matter. I can press X, Y, and Z, but I'm just going to, without moving the mouse, click one more time. And now, as you can see in our graph, we have a copy of that shape right here. And I'm going to temporarily move it so that I can show you. You can see now we have a copy in the exact placement of where we had it before. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to scale axis. We can do this on either X or Y. I will just do Y. And then I'm going to hold down Shift and then do -100. And now I'm going to go to scale uniform one more time. And then I'm going to scale it up just a bit. And then I guess I'm going to move it backwards a bit. Just like that. Now when I deselect it, now you can see that things got kind of weird. So what basically we have now is this. Let me get this tool so I can show you better. This mesh is inside out, and this mesh is right side out. So that means we are actually only seeing the back facing faces of this mesh. So that is why this mesh is always going to appear behind this mesh, because this mesh is right side out. So we will always see the out facing faces because they are facing us. Whereas this one, because it is inside out, the faces that normally would be facing away from us are now facing towards us. So we can see all of the faces that are behind the faces of this mesh. So hopefully that made sense. But basically now what we have are two shapes, and this one we will always see in the center, and this one we will always see on the outside. So if I select this to kind of give you a visualization of what this will look like, as you can see from any angle, it looks like our bullet is kind of glowing. So maybe we can make the inside of the bullet red and the outside of the bullet yellow or something like that. And then it really looks like that bullet has some energy to it, and it looks pretty cool. All right, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to select those two meshes. So this mesh and this mesh, this mesh and this mesh, and then right click and then go to combine. And now they are one mesh. Therefore, they will only be one draw call, and it will be much more efficient on the engine. And they will have to share the same UV map, which is what we're going to do now. But first, I'm going to rename this as bullets mesh. Actually, I should use an underscore mesh. Not. All right, let me try that one more time. I didn't want a dash. I wanted an underscore. There we go. Alright, now I'm going to select this shape and I'm going to go into UV mapping, and I'm going to select that, and then I'm going to hit the plus key until I have the entire interior of that selected, and then I'm going to right click, and then I'm going to, I guess I might as well make that yellow, and then I'm going to go to the lines, and then I'm going to mark edges for cut, and then I'm going to do pretty much the exact same thing for the other shape. So I'm just going to keep hitting the plus until I know I have the whole shape selected, and it looks like I do. And then I'm going to make those blue, and then I'm going to go to the lines, and then I'm going to go to mark edges for cut, and then I'm going to right click, continue, and then I think just unfolding should work just fine, or pretty much fine. So now we have, let's see, I guess now we got to go through the process of selecting all these different parts. So I think if I select this part and I go to select similar material, nope, that won't work. Okay, then I guess I will select this and this and this, and then I will go to select similar, yes. And now I have just the inside shape of the bullet selected, so I'm going to go to right click, move, free, and I'm just going to toss those over there so that we know that we have those all separated. Then I'm going to grab these, then I'm going to move those over here so that we know that we have them separated. So now all of these shapes are the outside shape of the bullet, and then all of these shapes over here are the inside shape of the bullet. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to pretty much just make everything vertical. So I'm going to rotate and hold down shift and 90 degrees and just reorganize these. I'm not worried about them lining up because when I actually do make the texture, I'm just going to make it a pretty generic texture that will just kind of like show movements, or I don't know, I'll show you what I mean once I go into Photoshop. But now I'm going to drag those over there, and now let me zoom in and grab the horizontal ones. I think those are all the horizontal ones, and I'm going to rotate all of those. That looks pretty good. And why don't I go ahead and scale those up a bit so that we can take advantage of the actual size of the whole texture. Let's scale these up a bit too. We don't have as much room to scale these up. Now I'm going to scale them down for the sake of it being uniform. But that should be pretty good, and I'm just going to toss it over top of there. Because it doesn't matter if it's going to line up, you won't be able to tell. I mean, it's going to be a moving bullet anyways. It's going to be flying across the screen. Alright, now let's do the same thing for the outside bullet parts. So let's just find all of the horizontal pieces and just rotate those 90 degrees. Just like that. And now I'm just going to move them around a bit so that they're pretty much in one area. Like that. Move, free, there, and I'm going to have to scale it down a bit. Alright. So this probably isn't the most efficient UV map, but for the sake of a bullet, it shouldn't matter too much. And plus it's also just generally for demonstration purposes. And I'm going to move these over just a little bit. So basically what we're going to do when we go into Photoshop is that we're going to have this half of the image be for the outside of the bullet and this half of the image be for the inside of the bullet. So now I'm going to go to right click, create texture. Let's do, 512 by 512. You don't need, actually in the end I think I'll probably use a 256 by 256 or even smaller, because we don't really need a detailed texture for something that's going to be flying across the screen super fast. So now I'm going to go ahead and export this as a, let's see, we have a lot of options here. I usually just do 3ds when it comes to Wings 3D. Usually FBX files are the best to export when you're working with Unity, but Unity also accepts .3ds files, so we can go ahead and use that. So why don't I just create a folder on the desktop, if I can find my desktop. There it is. And I'm going to create a new folder, and I'm going to call it bullet for RZtuts2. Open that up, and then file name, whatever, I'll just call it bullet. And save, and let's go over here and click on make external. It looks like it had already been made external automatically. So let me minimize this and double check that all the files that we need. Yep, here we have the 3ds file, and here we have the image file, which is what we will import into Photoshop to use as a reference to know how to make the image. And then I'm going to do one more thing inside of Wings 3D. There it goes. I'm going to save. So I'm going to call this bullet wings file. Good enough. Alright, so now we are all ready to go inside of Photoshop. Alright, so now here we are inside of Unity, and why don't we import the bullet mesh and the other thing, whatchamacallit, the UV map image. So bullet for RZtuts2. Can we do two at once? No, we can't. Okay, import, and now import new asset, and import that. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to, if I click on open, that's what it's going to do. So I guess I got to open up Photoshop. And now I'm going to go to File, Open. Inside of here, this one here. Okay, let's open up that, and let's just add a new layer, and then if I press Control Save, now it will save it as a PSD. So let's go ahead and save that. And now if I go into Unity, which one's the PSD? Let's see. Show in Explorer. That one's the PSD. Okay, so let's just delete that one so that we don't get it mixed up. And now let's go to the default material and drag and drop that on there. And now let's go to our bullet and drag that into our scene. Let's go ahead and make it a little bigger so that we can see it. And let's take a look at that. It looks like it is completely unlit, and that is because this light is only, let's see, I will select that. Let me just go ahead and change this real quick, and let's change this so that it lights up everything. There we go. Okay, now you can see it. So now we can see the image, and it looks pretty ugly right now. So let's go ahead and go back into Photoshop, and let's just quickly, let's go ahead and use just the paintbrush, and let's make the inside of it, how about, let's just start with bright red. Alright, might as well cover that whole side of the image. Now let's make a new layer, and now I'm going to make the outside of it a yellowish orange, or orangish yellow. And so let's start with that, and I'm going to go ahead and save it and go back into Unity and see how it looks. So far it already looks pretty cool, but I'm going to go into the material and I'm going to change it from diffuse to unlit. There we go. Alright, now let me deselect it so that we can really see what it looks like. So now, as you can see, no matter what angle, even if you're shooting the gun, it looks like it is glowing and there's an inside and an outside. It's sort of like a cell shaded look, and it looks pretty awesome. So let's go back into Photoshop and let's adjust it even more. So let's go and add some noise to it, and I'm going to make it monochromatic. I'm going to make more of it, and now I'm going to go into Filter, Blur, Motion Blur, and I'm going to make it a vertical motion blur, and that looks good. And let's do the same thing with the red. So Filter, Noise, Add Noise. Okay, now Filter, Blur, Motion Blur. Okay, and now let's go ahead and add a levels layer so that we can really adjust this and really make it pop. What did I just do? Okay, there we go. That's what I wanted to do. So it's just basically what I'm doing right now is I'm just increasing the contrast. Alright, so let's give that a save and go back into Unity. And it looks like it worked. Now we actually have a little bit of texture and a little bit of movement to it. So let's actually go into the image itself, and it doesn't need to be 512 by 512. Let's make it a little smaller. Like, let's start with that, and let's go a little higher. That looks good. So let's go back into the Photoshop file and see what else we can do to make this pop. Well, first of all, let's adjust this color a little bit and make it look, I'm thinking, a little bit more desaturated. Probably a little bit more on there. Not quite as bright. Now let's make this even more saturated. Yeah. Alright, and let's also add a new layer. Let's go ahead and just fill it with doesn't matter. Filter, noise, add noise, okay, mode, multiply. That looks pretty cool. Let's see what it looks like on the actual image. That looks kind of alright, but I liked the motion better. So let's only make that like a subtle there, like that. Now let's see what it looks like. Now it looks pretty awesome. Now it looks like a flying, moving, powerful bullet that has some weight and mass to it, and it generally looks pretty awesome. So let's go ahead and select the game object, and as you can see, it's just one game object because we combined the meshes. And now let's go ahead and add a point light to it. So how come it's not? It doesn't matter. Okay, so I'm going to now go to game object, create other point light, and let's put the point light about there. No, yep, right in the middle. And I'm going to make it real time only and render mode important. And I'm going to first of all find it in the hierarchy, and there it goes. Okay, and now I'm going to make it a child of the bullet. Now when I move this bullet around, it actually lights up the area. So let's make that light look just a little bit better. I'm going to increase the intensity kind of a lot. I'm going to decrease the range and increase the intensity, and then I'm going to change the color of it to more of like a orange, kind of like around there. I think looks pretty good. So now when we move around our bullet, we can really see how the bump maps pop. Now I do want to point out that if you are going to put point lights on all your bullets, you might want to change the render mode to not important. And in this case, probably just the way I have the light mapping set up, it seems to not even show up. So I'm going to go to, where's the light mapping? Light mapping, and I'm going to turn light mapping off temporarily. And now it still isn't really even showing up. Okay, so I guess forget what I said. You want to set it to important so that you can actually see it. And yeah, that's pretty much the basis of it. Why does it keep moving that? I want to move the bullet. There we go. So now as the bullet flies across the screen, that's the kind of effect that we are going to get, and it's really going to make the level pop and look 3D. But of course that is a little bit GPU heavy, like not even a little bit GPU heavy. It's pretty GPU heavy to put point lights on all of your bullets, but it does look really cool. And yeah, let me pull up that window with the light mapping one more time and check use light mapping, because that makes the game run faster. So now we have dual light mapping set up, or that's what I had set up. I didn't show you how to do dual light mapping in this tutorial, but that means that the lights will add on top of what is actually already in the game. So yeah, that's pretty much it. That is how to make the model of the bullet, and that is the bullet that we are going to be using in this tutorial. So I guess in the next episode we will add some code to it and make it so that you can actually shoot it and make it shoot out of the gun, and that will be really cool. And then we will be doing all of the other parts of the tutorial to make these bullets even more badass. So yeah, I guess until my next episode, I'll see you guys later, and keep making games.